Hi, this is Ned Siegfried from Siegfried & Jensen. As proud sponsors of BeliefCast, we hope you are inspired by Todd's weekly podcasts, which contain so many courageous stories of recovery and personal growth. Remember, it's not what happened in the past that matters, it's what happens in the future. We invite you all to work hard and be optimistic about your future. Enjoy today's podcast.
Well, again, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. This is, again, Todd Sylvester. I'm your host. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be able to share another amazing podcast today with some amazing news as well. I'm joined today by the owner and CEO of Wasatch Recovery Treatment Center, Mark Richards. Mark.
How you doing, buddy?
Yeah.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you on, and we've got some really good news to share with everybody as well. And I've known Mark now for probably going close to 8 years, and I've been here about that long. I mean, it's been close to 8 years. Can you believe that?
I know. I seriously can't believe it.
It's nuts.
Seems like yesterday, honestly.
It really does. And Wasatch Recovery has been, it feels like family to me. I love the way Mark runs this place because he treats everyone like family, and everyone who's ever worked here, any client who's ever gone through here says the same thing, man. I can't believe how Mark treats people, because usually, owners aren't maybe necessarily involved as much with what they're doing. You, on the other hand, you're hands-on, and you're always here, and people just love it.
I love to be involved. I love being here on a daily basis. I do. I love you guys as employees and as partners. I don't even look at people as employees. I look at everybody here in this facility as a partnership trying to do a common goal. I love my residents. I've met more amazing people doing this industry than I've ever could imagine. Wow.
No. Well, and Mark's really provided so many opportunities for let me to do what I do. Even this podcast, I do it here live at Wasatch Recovery every time. And Mark's allowed me to do that from day one. He's never hesitated. He's like, yeah, go do that. I love what you're doing. And I reached out to Mark just a few weeks ago, and I wanted to team up with not only Mark, but Wasatch Recovery. And Mark and Wasatch Recovery has agreed to be a major sponsor of this BeliefCast. And
excited about it.
It's so cool.
It really is.
And what we're going to do for you guys this is what's so exciting, is I'm going to have Mark on once a month. And we're gonna talk about the Wasatch Recovery, the Wasatch Way is what we're gonna call it, because there's a certain way we do things up here, and we're gonna talk about that in a minute. But we're also gonna entertain any questions you may have. If you have someone you need to get help, or for any type of situation, we're gonna address those issues as well. But we're gonna just talk about recovery in general, and because I think a lot of people out there don't know. They have so many questions, but not sure where to get the answers. And we hope that maybe we can provide some of those answers for them.
I think that's exactly what it'll do. And I'm excited to hear what people have to ask. I'm excited to be able to provide answers. I'm excited to be able to help more people on a daily basis. If it's through Wasatch or somewhere else for that matter. There's so many people that need help in these certain areas. And it's amazing to just be able to get somebody where they need to go. Frankly.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I know, Mark's phone's ringing 24/7, just people who know him and who are reaching out for help. And this is going to make that worse. But we're our reach with this, and I gotta give props to all of your listeners. We just hit over 135,000 downloads. The reach that we have is close to 180,000, and it's amazing how that has just. We were just talking, Mark and I were just talking about where I started with one little mic and, one follower.
No, it's amazing. It's just like what we said, the consistency, and to be able to do this on a weekly basis, to be able to tell a different story every day, it's going to touch somebody. And that's what I think is so important about it. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. So that's great news, folks. Wasatch Recovery is a major sponsor now, along with we have Siegfried & Jensen and Veracity Networks, some amazing people who own these things, and they're all bought into helping people. Siegfried & Jensen, Veracity Networks, Ned Siegfried and Drew Peterson, you know them very well too, Mark.
I do, yeah.
And they're the same. They're just like Mark. They want to just give back, and they want to help people. And that's why I've reached out to those 3 individuals. And so I'm just so excited for this, man. And so what we're going to do today is I'm going to have Mark share his story. I think most people haven't heard why he even started Wasatch Recovery, and the story he has about that's amazing. It's inspiring. And so I'm going to have Mark to share a little bit about his background, maybe a little bit about his family, and then talk about what he went through, some trials that he had gone through, and then why he started Wasatch Recovery. So we'll just kind of go from there.
Awesome. Well, we back in 2008, as most people would know, the real estate market crashed, and my primary career was real estate.
Oh, yeah.
And it was an interesting time going through 2008, 2009, 2010. I looked at so many people just trying to survive, trying to survive life.
Yeah.
And I was one of those. I remember, not having $5 in my bank account.
Wow.
And being so stressed. How am I going to take care of my family? How am I going to take care of my kids? I have 4 kids. And now a grandkid, for that matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
As we're growing older.
Opa, right?
Yeah, Opa today. So I just happened to see him just a few minutes ago.
Cute kid.
But back in that time, you're wondering where you're going to go for the next day.
Wow.
And
that's scary.
I know that there's a lot of people out there that still don't know where they're going to be tomorrow. Yeah. And that was a huge thing for me, is I was going, what am I going to do in this market?
Yeah.
And ironically, my brother had struggled just a little bit.
Yeah.
And I had no idea. And so I was one of those oblivious family members that was best friends with my partner and brother and had no idea that he was struggling.
Wow.
And he had a brother-in-law in this industry. He was very inspirational.
Yeah.
And he had this dream of helping people. And I've always been kind of that same personality, if there's somebody in need, let's lend a hand.
Yeah.
And but when he started talking about addiction, that's the one area I didn't know anything about. I was honestly oblivious. I had never drank. I had never smoked. I had never done anything in the addiction arena, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
And I became terrified going, there's no way. I mean, what are you thinking?
Right.
And
I think a lot of people are in that mindset of, they've never been down that road. And so what do you do? How do you handle it? How do you talk to them? What do you say? That kind of thing.
Yeah. I was completely terrified going, I don't think that's going to work.
Right.
And so he was fairly determined, and just happened to be one day we were driving down the street, and the property that we now have as Wasatch Recovery, our inpatient property, we were driving just down the road, and it happened to have a real estate sign on it. It's an incredible piece of property, 5 acres.
Yeah.
And beautiful.
For sure.
And he said to me, that's it. We're doing this. And I laughed. I laughed at him and said, you're kidding me, right? We don't have $5 in our bank account.
Right, yeah.
How in the world are we going to buy that?
Yeah.
And he laughed and said, you know what? We're going to do this. And, it was right then where we went, there might be a possibility where we could do this.
Sure.
Wrote a contract. It had fallen out of contract 8 times in foreclosure.
Really?
And what was amazing about it is I often talk about my story with people, and I count my many blessings is what I do.
Yeah.
And there were many blessings that occurred in that process of acquiring the property, getting things started. And that was really one of the first things that happened that I call opportunity or blessing, is we happened to put this thing under contract.
Yeah.
And that was a blessing to me. But then we had the next step, and we had to find an earnest money. If people know real estate, you got to put up an earnest money, and I had no money. And so I started begging and went to a good friend of mine, and he didn't even hesitate. He gave me a check.
Wow.
And there was the next blessing, just one after
He
another.
believed in you.
He did believe in me,
Yeah.
and that was very important to me. And I think I always had a pretty good trust with people that knew me.
For sure. Yeah. You had a good reputation. You treat people well.
Yeah.
You know,
I've always tried to do that.
Yeah.
And I think, I think we learn that from, who we grow up with, our parents teach us, whatever it may be. But I always had this thing of, if I can help somebody, I'm going to help them.
Yeah.
And at that time, I needed help. I wasn't the one helping. I was the one being helped. So again, I got blessed.
Yeah.
And so
wow,
we jumped right in, not knowing anything about this industry, not knowing anything what we were going to do. And as we got into it, we had to remodel the house. And before that, I should go back. We had to find some money. We had to find some money to close this property. And we're in the worst real estate market in nation's history.
Yeah, ever. Yeah.
And I kind of laughed and said, this is impossible. This isn't going to work. And lo and behold, one day, a couple of guys came and looked at it, and they said, we're interested. We'll help you do this. And I was blown away.
Yeah.
I didn't think we could find $5. I really didn't. Right. I didn't think somebody would lend us $5 in that crazy market that we were in.
Yeah, really.
So we closed it. And again, I count that as a blessing. And I could count numerous blessings as we go through this story. But we were able to get the property closed. I kind of laugh because the gentlemen that helped me were such nice guys. Mm-hmm. So different from any real estate investor I had ever met.
Right.
And frankly, I was worried about them. I started worried about them because they had closed this and they had given us money without a contract. They just put pure trust into us.
Wow.
And that was amazing.
That's unheard of.
It is unheard of.
Yeah.
And so we got started, and where the story really begins is we were remodeling the property in the home. Mm-hmm. And I was walking out the door one day, and bam, I had a headache that I'd never had before in my life.
Right. And
it dropped me to the floor in my own bathroom as I was walking out the door to go to work. And as I laid there, I just thought, man, I have got the worst migraine.
Yeah.
And me being me, not thinking,
right.
Thought, well, I'll just climb into bed and we'll get, this will pass.
Yeah.
And so I climbed into bed, and my mom came over, she was a nurse, mm-hmm. and looked at me and said everything was fine. A couple hours later, my wife just happened to be talking on the phone to a friend, and she said, that sounds like an aneurysm.
Whoa.
Right?
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe it. And I didn't even know it at this point because I started losing my memory at that point. And my wife said, really, that's weird. And she popped me into the car and ran me to the ER. She thought I just had a pinched nerve in my neck.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, they did an MRI, and lo and behold, my brain was bleeding.
Man.
And it was an interesting time for her.
Yeah.
It was an interesting time for the family. They rushed me to IMC Hospital here locally, and they didn't give me the night to live.
Wow.
And so here I was in this hospital in the neuro ICU, and they brought the entire family in basically to say goodbye.
Like to say goodbye.
Yeah.
So it was that serious.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was serious.
Yeah.
And so where my recollection comes back is a couple days later, I woke up and I saw my daughter at the end of the bed and said, "Hey, what's wrong with you?" She was crying, and I thought, what in the heck? Where am I?
Yeah, what's
wrong with you? And she said, "What's wrong with me?" She said, "You." And I said, "What? What do you mean?" And she said, "Dad, what are you talking about? You." Wow. And I remember falling back asleep. Well, a few minutes later, I wake up again, and now there's about 20 people at the end of my bed. And one of them is the doctor, and he says, "Well, you've had an aneurysm. You've had what they call a subarachnoid hemorrhage in the back of your brain." And he said, "We can't believe that you're still here, but
whoa,
you're here, and you're going to be here for a while." And I remember saying, well, I can't stay very long because I'm supposed to go to Newport Beach in 2 days. And if anybody knows me, they know how important that is to me.
Mark would live on the beach 24/7.
I really would. I love the beach. And so I was like, nope, I'm out. I'm headed out of here. And they started laughing kind of, and they said, no, you're going to be here for a while. You're going to be here for at least 16 days.
Wow.
And I was thinking, huh? And you could see the fear and the panic in those on the outside.
Sure, yeah.
And it was kind of a hard moment there for a minute.
Yeah, for sure.
They told me I was going to have a stroke twice while I was there, and it didn't happen.
Never happened.
And at the end of that stay, it was quite the process. I made it through it. Everything happened in the best possible manner. It self-healed. My brain bleed self-healed, which doesn't happen very often.
It's crazy.
I survived.
Yeah.
I don't have any major side effects. And I learned a lot of lessons while I was there.
Yeah.
One of those was I was filled with drugs. And I was filled with fentanyl and Dilaudid and any pain med they could put me on, I was on for 16 days straight. And it was heavy doses.
Wow.
To keep me in a good place.
Yeah, right.
So as I went home, probably the biggest blessing in the entire situation was I had to go through detox. And I had no idea what it was. I struggled. I was uncomfortable.
Oh, man.
I thought I was going to crawl out of my skin for a week.
So you're withdrawing.
Oh yeah, I'm
you're going through
withdrawing.
Yeah.
And why I call that a blessing is in just a matter of days, I started to understand what I was going to do. And that's why I call it a blessing is I now had an experience where I could feel what these guys that come through here feel.
Man.
And that changed me.
Yeah. And you're talking about blessings and just your wife being on the phone with her friend at that moment.
Right.
I mean, honestly, had they not been on the phone, you're laying there, you're dying.
Yeah.
And everyone just thinks you have a headache.
Right.
I mean, how scary that is. And so all these little things along the way, how it just led up to what you're doing. It's incredible. So you go through this withdrawal. So when you get done, do you have like this new passion for Wasatch Recovery and moving forward and you're going to make this work?
So I started to get passionate about it and I started to understand it. Mm-hmm. And we had acquired the property in April and it took us up until October until we were ready to start this thing. Well, we're still really naive, right? So we're naive to what are we going to do and how are we going to do this?
Yeah.
And this is where a couple of things happen that I think really makes us different. Is number one, we never went and looked at other facilities. We never wanted to do it other people's way.
Yeah.
And we didn't. So we just started and we thought, we're going to do it. And we sat down and we talked about it and thought, what does a person in need?
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And especially in this industry, we felt that if we could just give some hope and love the heck out of them, we could make a difference in people's lives. And in recovery, I think that's what a lot of people are missing is they lose their hope.
For sure.
And most of the love in their life is gone, at least at that moment.
Yeah.
Right?
People have written them off. Their families typically written them off.
They're exhausted.
They're exhausted.
Yeah,
yep.
they do love them.
Yeah.
But they sure hate them at that moment, right? But we can be the third party that loves them.
Yeah.
And so that was what we came up with. If we can just create an environment and a culture of love and hope, I think we could make a difference.
Right.
And so October 2011, we got one person in. And it was awesome.
Yeah.
Because we only had Jeff and I, my brother, and Dave.
Oh yeah.
So my original clinical director,
the three amigos.
It was the three amigos. That's what we did. And we shared every duty. And it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was an awesome, awesome time. Dave would do the therapy. Jeff and I would sleep overnight. We're cooking food, buying food because we didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Playing games because you couldn't do therapy for 12 hours with one person. And wondering if we could keep this thing going.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, we had our first open house, and a particular owner of another facility came through the open house, and he said to me as he was walking out, "What's your niche?" And I thought to myself, well, I don't know. And he goes, "You'll fail." And he walked out the door.
Really?
Yeah. And I thought, well, that was eye-opening.
Right. Yeah.
And so I was like, do we have a niche? Do we want a niche?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people look at his niche as, is it a men's facility? Is it a woman's facility? Is it a young adult facility? Is it this type of facility? And we looked at our niche as doing it different. We're going to do treatment in a different way. And I think that's what we're talking about for a minute is we wanted to do it the Wasatch way.
Yeah.
And that was our goal.
Right.
And starting to build it from one person to the next, we did it our way.
Yeah.
And I think it's an effective way. I would put anything up against our treatment. I'd put any facility against our treatment.
For sure.
And not in an arrogant way.
Right.
We just do it a little bit different than everybody else does it.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of facilities have their own way of doing treatment.
For sure.
But
no, I love that. Can I comment on that?
Yeah,
for a second?
I would love you to.
Well, and I think that's why people who know me and are listening to me, they know my background. I've been doing this for years, 30 years. And I've seen this, everyone's kind of the same. It's the cookie cutter stuff. And that's why I love it here, because it's different. We kind of custom make the program for the person. You've got your AA programs, you got your rational recoveries, you got your refuge recovery. There's all these different modalities. What Mark's done is allowed me, I'll never forget the day I walked up to you and I'm like, will you let me just do what I do? And Mark's like, absolutely. He goes, this is why we want you. And Mark has allowed me for the last 7.5 years to just be me. And this is different because most treatment centers don't have a guy like me. And what I mean by that is I do more like mindset coaching or life coaching or that kind of stuff. And I'm helping these people. What are you going to do today to get you to where you want to be tomorrow? Belief systems, changing those things. And most other places don't have this as part of their thing. And our residents will comment on that all the time. Like, yeah, no other place has someone like a Todd doing what we do here. And so I just want you to know that's, to me, helps really set us apart in a lot of different ways.
I think you're absolutely right. And, take it with me also, to be able to be an owner and to be able to come and experience on a daily basis somebody else's path, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
To be able to create an individual plan for each individual that walks into the facility and to be a part of that. There's times where I ask myself, why isn't every owner in our industry that involved?
Right.
Now, I understand that, it's a business for some people. Maybe it's not in their personality. Maybe they don't connect that well. And I don't fault people for not, but I'll tell you, for me, it's the most gratifying thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. It is.
Well, and people feel that. I mean, the clients respond all the time. It's like, they're almost shocked that that's the owner. That's the guy that's been just, giving me a hug, telling me you can do this and giving me some advice and all that. Yeah, there he is. And they're like, no way, this is unbelievable. Because some of our clients have been to other places. And again, you're also one of the reasons why this place is just different, like you just said. Plus we have, I think, some of the, if not the best therapists, right? We run some of the toughest groups. And for those who don't know what that means, we get in a room of all 16 clients in both houses. So we flip-flop the houses. We have about 32 people here at any given time. And we have a process where it's raw and it's real and it's tough and it's hard. And
Well, that's what's so great
amazing.
about it is it's real.
Yeah.
And just like you say, it's raw. We all have things that we carry, and it's hard to be vulnerable.
Right.
It's hard to talk about it, but it holds us all back.
Yeah.
And that even myself, you know, I don't like to be vulnerable. Just ask my wife, you know, and she would laugh. She'd say, yeah, he's probably the worst at that. But I watch when somebody can get vulnerable and they talk about these things and they get to the root of what's driving this addiction of theirs.
Yeah.
I'm convinced that if not 100%, 99% of anybody who's struggling has something else they're dealing with.
For sure.
Other than the drugs, alcohol, whatever, if it's a substance or not.
Right.
And there's so much there with each individual that if they could just step out of their comfort zone for a minute, and that's the way we do it.
Yeah.
We force them, when you say tough, we force them out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to see how quick progress can happen when you're out of your comfort zone.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We all know that when you're struggling, you can learn a whole lot more than when you're flourishing.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's funny too. We had a client the other day. It was so funny because she was like, I've been processed 6 times this week. And we process a lot, and a lot of places don't process as much as we do. She said this to our clinical director, Wendy, said, you know, you've processed me 6 times this week. And she goes, you're welcome.
I love it.
Because that's what we do. Like you just said, we get you out of your comfort zone so you can really see what's the underlying issue of why you blow up your life. You know what's fascinating to me, Mark? And this is what another thing that sets us apart, the Wasatch Way, is like I'll ask people who have been to other places and I'll say, do you know why you blow up your life with alcohol and drugs? And they can't answer it. And I'm like, you didn't figure that out? Because if you don't know why, what are we going to work on?
Right.
So that's what our therapists are so good at, getting to that point of, this is why you blow up your life. This is what we're going to work on. We don't have to work on this other stuff. This is the reason. Yeah. And it's funny, a lot of people don't know that's the case.
Well, a lot of people have been taught school about drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
And I'm not a believer in that because that's not what's driving their use.
Exactly.
Alcohol is alcohol, drugs are drugs. It doesn't matter what form it comes in. That is not the driving force. So if they're just learning about triggers, if they're learning about thinking errors, being taught school, what's wrong with you? We don't believe anything's wrong with anybody, do we?
No.
We believe that the choice is the choice, but nothing's wrong with you.
Right. Ultimately, yeah, absolutely.
You might be making a choice at the moment that may not be the best choice in the world, but that doesn't mean something's wrong with you.
Yeah, I love it.
And I think the world perceives it as something's wrong with me.
Yeah, exactly.
Or something is wrong with my family member.
Right.
And we're not believers in that.
Yeah.
I think it's so important that we focus on people, their emotional state. I think that is so important.
Sure.
So many places have focused on the thoughts and the brain and all these things. And I'm a huge believer that the emotions are driving those thoughts. The emotions are driving those things that you're thinking about.
Right.
Yeah. Are there thinking errors? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Are there things that you're doing wrong? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But if you can learn to manage your emotions, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we do such an amazing job. Our therapists are awesome.
Yeah.
Todd, I got to give you all the credit in the world. I mean, the lives you change by correcting that thought of that something's wrong with me, or I can't move past this, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
I mean, you're the best of the best. I'm going to give it to you right now just because I'm here.
Thank you.
It is. It's amazing. It's amazing to watch you in action. And that's why I'm so happy to see where we're going with this and you're going with this and to be a part of this and to be able to make it the Wasatch Way.
Yeah.
People are scared. It's scary to go to treatment. It's scary to get out of your comfort zone. That's why I think this thing that we're looking at doing with questions, answers, whatever it is, we can encourage more people to get out of their comfort zone, make a change, Be happy.
Yeah.
You can be.
You can be happy. Yeah. No, thank you. And I appreciate that. And but what's so good too, though, is you've allowed me to be me. That's what I love about you. You don't micromanage me or anybody, really. I mean, Mark's never like, hey, Todd, are you doing this and that? He's like, go do your thing, go flourish. And you've allowed me to flourish. And I have grown. You can even ask my wife, like in the last 7.5 years, I mean, I've been doing this a long time, but the growth that I've experienced just, here at Wasatch personally has been unbelievable. My wife will tell you, oh, wow, I can't believe how much you've grown in the last 7.5 years. So thank you for providing a place for me to do that.
Yeah. No, I admire everything that you do. I admire how you do it. And as an owner of a facility, I admire the way we all do it here.
Yeah.
I want everybody to bring their little piece. And that's so important to me. This, to me, is life-changing.
Yep.
This is people's lives.
Yeah.
And if we don't have the right culture, then it's not going to affect the clients in the correct way.
Exactly.
And so I think where you were in the beginning, this is a family to us.
Yeah.
This is a family to me. And all of us together, I think in traditional business, if people were listening to this as a business owner, they would go, what in the heck?
Right.
You can't run that as a family.
Yeah.
How are you going to be effective as an owner if you are this close to your people or if you treat them this way?
Yeah.
And there's been times where I go, gosh, this is going to be a hard situation because this is like my brother and I gotta go talk to him.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure. Yeah.
And so it hasn't always been easy, but I would never trade it for any other way.
Right.
It's just, it's the most gratifying thing, not only to see us as our employees, as our partners, as our therapists, as our line staff, as it is to see it translate and to move into our residents.
For sure.
And I think that's, I can't say enough about it.
No, it's amazing. And, I want the listeners to know this as well. Mark, again, he's the owner. He doesn't have to be here, but he is every day. But he shares his story, probably every other month to the residents. He does family night, which is a really cool thing that we do here, where we bring the families in once a week. And Mark will actually, he doesn't have to do that either, but he's got his hands into this, and it's so cool to watch. And it just makes us, it's like leadership, it trickles down, and we have you as the leader, and it's just fun to watch, and we love how engaged you are in that, and it's just inspiring to watch from our perspective as well. So
well, I appreciate that. We do a lot of great things, just like you mentioned. Family night's great. We have a meeting on Sunday nights that we bring a lot of our alumni, our current residents, people from the past. Some people come that aren't even a part of our facility, and we run it as sort of like an AA meeting, but it's got a little bit of a different feel. And I love to go over there and see the vulnerability in people and to see their progression, and you can feel it. And there's quite a spirit in that room when they come on that night and they share what they're going through. It's amazing to me. And then the last thing is, we have a foundation that we love to do extracurricular things to create a community. And I think that's another part of Wasatch that we always wanted to create, was we wanted to create a community of people, like-minded people, going for the same goal. And I think we've done a really good job at that in the last couple of years. We have an incredible outpatient facility on top of what we have on our inpatient. We have an incredible sober living facility. We run a sober softball league with 25 teams in it, which is amazing.
It is amazing.
They look forward to it every year. We run a golf tournament that is unlike anyone I've ever seen.
For sure.
And I know it sounds like we're tooting our own horn a lot here, but it's all out of just wanting to give back.
Yep.
I mean, it really is an amazing, amazing thing that we all do.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So you started with one client. How many clients have been through now?
So we've had over 2,000 clients come through Wasatch inpatient. That doesn't count any of the outpatient.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's amazing.
we're not even quite 10 years from our first client.
Yeah.
2,000 people plus, and
That's amazing.
it really is amazing. And what's so great about that is, you see them and you see what it's done to their families, and there's always the good that comes out of it.
Yeah.
And there's some of the ones that are tragic,
Yeah.
but helping one outweighs losing 10 if we did that.
Yeah.
But we get great success. We
sure.
know what we're doing at this point now. Yeah. I didn't know what I was doing at all for a while there, but now we know how to do it, and we know what it takes, and that's what we really encourage with our people. Listen to Todd. Use the advice.
Yeah.
If you will just do it,
Yep.
you will be different.
Yeah.
You will be happy.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. That's all I want for them.
For
Just
sure.
be happy.
Yeah. And yeah, I always tell the clients, what's the definition of success? They got a billion different answers, and I'll say it should be waking up in a good mood. That should be it. And that's what you're saying. Waking up happy, waking up excited for the day, excited to be alive, that kind of stuff. The other thing I think that makes us the Wasatch Way is we put a lot of ownership on the actual client. They have to sign up. They have to make sure they show up to their appointments. We expect them to do the work. And, we'll tell them all the time, well, we don't fix really anybody here. You're going to fix yourself. We'll walk the walk with you, but you got to walk the walk. We make them. We don't make them, but we expect them to walk the walk with us.
I love that word. I expect people to do well in this facility.
Yeah.
And if nobody has an expectation, you're not going to do well.
Exactly.
We expect a lot from our people, just like you say. When they come in, we expect them to carry themselves well.
Mm-hmm.
We expect them to watch their language. We expect them to succeed.
Yeah.
And not fear the success.
Yeah.
And we talk about that a lot here. It's easy to fail.
Yeah.
It's hard to succeed, but don't be scared.
Yeah.
Don't be scared to succeed. It's amazing. Yeah. And when they can grasp that and challenge that fear in them of, I can do this, the minute they realize it, you see it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's awesome.
It's beautiful. I'm going to ask you a question, and this is going to be hard for you to answer because there's probably a million different situations you could refer to, but what is one of your greatest moments in the last 10 years in this whole process? You mentioned all these blessings you've been through. I mean, you just were listing them off. Boom, boom, boom. I know that's a tough question. What's one or two of these blessings that over the last 10 years that really stands out to you?
Oh, yeah. Gosh, I got to think about that for a second. There's probably instances that I can name, and then there's also things that I've changed with. So going to myself,
okay,
I've realized the importance of people. I've realized the importance of every single day. When you have an aneurysm and you're not supposed to live, you value every minute.
I bet.
Does that make me perfect at this point? Heck no, I'm probably worse than I was before. But I sure am trying hard,
Right.
But my gratitude is different.
Yeah.
And that is where me personally, I've gained so much through this as far as gratitude. I'm grateful not only for the good days, I'm grateful for the hard days. I'm grateful for the bad days. I'm grateful for the rainy days. I don't care. Yeah. I'm trying to look at it from a standpoint of, I'm just grateful to be alive. And,
for sure.
I not to get real religious, but I thank God every day.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving me one more day.
Yeah.
But what I see that, and I can push that into my residents.
Yeah.
And my residents have an opportunity to not only have one more day here on this earth, but they can make a difference in many people's lives.
For sure.
And if they were to just get clean and to live by that example,
Mm-hmm.
the amount of lives they can affect
Yeah.
is just unbelievable
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
So that's one thing
Okay.
that I really, really just love and have learned myself. As far as experiences, gosh, I could name 1,000.
I know. I know it was a tough question.
That is a tough question
Maybe.
because there's so many people that I've got to know and love. There's so many.
Well, I think you said it perfectly, Mark, because every day you're looking at it as a blessing. And I'm just blown away how all this led up to what we're doing today.
Right.
I mean, life happens for us, right? You look at what you've been through. It's like, why'd you go through all that? Well, maybe so you could provide this place for you. I mean, not only have you helped well over 2,000 clients or residents that come through here, but their families,
Right.
and extended families. I mean, it goes into the probably hundreds of thousands, honestly, if we look at it that way, and the influence of that. And so, I mean, I love what you said. This every day, I'm just grateful for just being here today.
Yeah. Today is today.
Yeah.
And you don't know if you're going to be here tomorrow.
Right.
And I learned that.
Yeah.
And I can't do anything about yesterday. So I just try and be a little bit better today.
Yeah.
And again, I'm far from perfect. But I love people. And you talked about being consistent.
Mm-hmm.
I try and be very consistent in the way I do things.
Yeah. Right.
Some people have asked me, how do you do this? And I go, I just be me.
Yeah.
And when I hire people
Mm-hmm.
or I bring people in to work with us, my question to them is not what level of therapist are you?
Yeah.
What's this? Do you care about people? Do you have passion to help people?
Yeah.
Those are the things I look at when I go, okay, you're going to be effective.
Yeah.
I know what people are going to do. And then just like you said, if I took Todd away from Todd, you can't be effective anymore.
Exactly.
I hired Todd for Todd.
Yeah.
I hire Wendy for Wendy. I hire all my employees for who they are.
Yeah.
And I expect them to bring what they can offer. And
Yeah.
that's what I love. And I think that's what makes us so diverse and
Yeah.
so great is one person can connect with a client where another person might not be able to. And then another person can connect with a client where somebody else may not be able to. And so we can service any client. That's one thing that I love also is we'll service the 18-year-olds
Yeah.
and we'll service the 75-year-olds.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. We've had both.
We've had both. And
Yeah.
and I think that's so refreshing to be able to see the interaction between the young, the middle-aged, the older people that come through here and to see the different roles that they start to take on. And the way we run, just like you said, with the onus being on them, it's amazing to see how close they become.
Yeah.
And they really become a family,
Yeah.
which in turn will create that community and make that community stronger. It allows them to have safety
Yeah.
in the future, to know they can call somebody that they trust.
Exactly.
And that trust factor just grows and grows and grows. And that's where I just love to watch.
Yeah.
And it really is amazing.
No, that's so cool. And I know we're really talking Wasatch up, but it really is the truth. I mean, it's just a different feel here, honestly. And that's why I've anchored myself to this place. And you know that how much I love this place, and I love meeting with the clients, and I look forward to meeting with many more, for the next several years, and I want to just keep doing this with you. And
well, we all look forward to that. And again, we made a commitment.
Mm-hmm.
And if I expect something from somebody else, I'm committed.
Yeah.
I'm committed to helping, and I'm committed to staying involved.
Mm-hmm.
And that's again where we're a little bit different, is we practice what we preach.
Yep.
And to me, that's the basic, simple
for sure
thing, that if we can practice what we preach, we've got credibility.
Yep.
And the residents are going to know that.
Yep.
They're going to know how we feel. They're going to know if we're real.
Yep.
We're expecting them to be real. If we're not real, it doesn't work.
Yeah, and they'll see right through it as well.
They do. They see right through it.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where I think we're so great, is I've got some of the most authentic people around here,
Mm-hmm.
and I just love that. I wanted to just, one other small
Please.
thing that I wanted
Yeah,
to mention
please.
about, what's the greatest thing is I get the opportunity to work with some of my old residents.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that, and I'm like, we have a lot of alumni that work here.
Yeah.
And I see how their lives have changed, and I see the influence they have because they've stood on both sides of the fence.
For sure. That's
and,
true.
And
So true.
I mean, you included. I'm the one guy that can't say that. Well, I can for 1 week.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I get to watch these people come through here and be on one side of the fence, and then they've changed their life and come back and work.
Yeah.
And to now live by example and to see the effect that has on our current residents, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's a great point. That is powerful. Yeah, we'll see, former clients who are working here, and you just forget they were former clients. They're just living great lives, doing
Right.
great things, and yeah, we're surrounded by them. It's amazing.
No, we really are. The Wasatch Way is a great way.
Yeah.
It really is a great way.
Mm-hmm.
We do it right.
Yeah.
And that's what I've always been a believer in.
Mm-hmm.
I was taught that growing up, either do it right or don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that might sound a little self-righteous, but I don't want it to come across that way.
Sure.
I just think we do it right.
Yeah.
And we, not that we don't ever do something wrong,
Right.
but we're always striving to be better.
Yeah.
And that's another thing
Exactly.
that we do. We
Absolutely. One of the things that I want to add to that is, again, we customize to the client. If the client, has been to 17 AA programs and it hasn't worked or whatever, we allow them, hey, we're going to do it this way. We're not even going to incorporate that if we don't need to, and so that's what's so beautiful about this is these guys like, where's this stuff been? I hear that all the time with people when I'm meeting with them for the first time. They're like, where's this been? I'm like, well, it's been here at Wasatch for a while.
Yeah. Well,
So,
and it
anyway,
is.
it's
It's
good stuff.
gratifying when you hear that kind of stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I love it.
I'll hear from clients, hey, I've been here for 1 week and I've learned more in a week than I learned in 15 treatment centers.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, well, what is everybody else teaching? Or what is everybody else doing?
Yeah.
And I'm not pointing fingers to any particular facility, but these are residents who say this, and I go, well, we must be doing a little something right.
Yeah, something's going
And
right.
that's gratifying. I have to say,
Absolutely.
And but there's things that we can learn, and we're not above anybody.
Yeah.
We're not above even my residents. I love to take suggestions.
Yeah.
I love to hear what we can do better. I love to incorporate new things. I love to stay up with the times.
Yeah, no, I love it.
That's important to me.
I love it. Well, I'm going to ask you one more question. If someone's listening to you right now who's struggling, they're in a bad place, or they know someone, I have a family member or a son or a daughter or a niece or a nephew or a cousin, whoever it may be that's in a rough spot, what advice could you give them, and what could they do to reach out for help?
Well, the advice is don't quit loving them.
Mm-hmm.
Keep loving them.
Yeah.
They're struggling. But I do have a soft spot for the families because I know that it's a struggle.
Right.
But don't quit loving them because it is difficult.
Yeah.
If somebody needs help, I always say we create these fears in our minds.
Mm-hmm.
If you can just come and sit for 5 minutes and feel and see what we do.
Yeah.
Rehab is not what rehab is looked at from the world standpoint.
Right.
It's refreshing.
Yeah.
It's a moment to be selfish for a minute in
Yeah.
a good way.
Right.
You get to
Love that.
leave this world, for 30, 60, 90 days.
Yeah.
And to just
sure.
be able to be
Yeah.
okay and to be this and that.
Yeah.
And so if somebody's struggling, don't be afraid to call. If your family member or you yourself is struggling, make a call first.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Picking up the phone.
Right.
Make a call. If we can get in front of you, I promise you we'll settle your nerves. If you can get into the facility, if you can get courageous enough to come in, I always say to my residents, if you can stay 3 days, you won't want to leave.
Yeah.
And I see that over and over and over because it's so refreshing, so positive. It's not a negative thing. So many people view it as negative. It's the most positive thing you'll ever do.
Yeah. I love that. I always say when they get here, I'm like, hey, welcome to the greatest university on the planet.
And I love that you say that. It's amazing how many quotes I actually steal from you, Todd.
That's okay.
When I talk to people, I use your quotes because your quotes are so great, and it really is the greatest university on the planet. And I'm gonna tell you one quick story.
Sure,
I was at a restaurant just a couple days ago, and I bumped into a gentleman that I've known my whole life, and his son happened to come through our facility, and he said to me, I went to your family nights. My son has never done better. He's 3 years clean almost. And he said, when I walked out of your family night and Todd did family night, he said, I learned more in 1 hour than I learned in 4 years of college. Wow. He goes, about life.
Wow.
And when you say it's the greatest university on the planet, it's the greatest university on the planet.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with book smarts.
Yep.
It's just learning the basics on how to be happy.
Yeah.
And that's what I love what you do, brother. I mean, you do it and you do it right.
No, thank you, Mark. That just made my day. That's awesome. That is so cool. Well, if someone does want to reach out to you, Mark, and not only for help, but if they want to ask you a question, maybe even give us a question that we can ask on here or answer on here, what number should they call? And
there's a couple ways that you can do it. You can call our main number, which is 801-901-0024. That's our main number.
Okay.
We also, on our website, you can email us, and we'll get an email. It'll shoot us a text. We'll get right back to you. If you have a question, you can put it right on there. We'll answer the question.
Okay.
If you're looking for treatment, we can do that. And if you ever want to get in contact with me direct, I would leave my mobile right now. That's how confident I am in doing this business. I try and tell people, you're welcome to call me. I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, please.
It's 801-898-7778. I'm open. And
again, that's why we love you, because again, you'll take calls from anyone. You can call them, guys. Call them.
Yeah.
Hit them up.
You're welcome to call me. You're welcome to call the main number. You're welcome to email. We're a big team here. Yeah. We all work together to help everybody, and I'm included in that. So feel free. It's never a bother. It never matters what time.
I love it. Love it. Very well said. And I want to add, you can also reach out to me, those that really know me well. You can, my number is 801-870-4412. You can ask me anything. I can get you in contact with Mark if for some reason you can't get a hold of him. And like you said, we work together, and we're here to just, get people the help that they need. That's why we're doing this Wasatch Way. And I want to thank you, Mark, and Wasatch Recovery for being willing to sponsor this Belief Cast. That means more to me than you'll ever know.
Well, I'm a huge believer in it.
I know you are. And people, please, this is really cool. And again, you can ask us any questions, even if it's not drug or alcohol related. Like Mark was saying, that's not the issue. Mm-hmm. If you got depression or anxiety, or you're feeling like you're less than, whatever it may be, ask us, reach out to us. We will help you. Mark's the guy he'll have you come up and, he'll give you a tour of this place. This place is amazing. It's a 5-star hotel. It's amazing. But the work that goes on here it's tough. But yet, like Mark said, we're teaching you how to wake up in a good mood, to be happy.
And I just wanted to finish with
please.
If we're not the right spot, we will find the right spot.
Yep.
And that's important to us.
For sure.
If we meet somebody and they may not be appropriate for us, which there might be an individual who is struggling in areas that we can't help as well, I'm going to try and find the best place for everybody, and that's so important to me, to make sure that they just get the help that they need.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That is awesome. Well, Mark, thank you for taking the time, for sitting here and sharing that amazing story and how this all came about. And I admire the way you live your life. I'm grateful to rub shoulders with you every single day. I'm proud to be an employee of Wasatch Recovery. It really does. This is... I'm going to live and die here, man. This is where I'm staying.
Well, how much I love you, bud.
I know.
I mean, again, what you do and the lives you change, it way outnumbers what I do. And you're an amazing individual. We could sit here and go back and forth and back and forth. But I love your spirit. I love what you do. I love what you're about, and vice versa.
Thank you.
I appreciate you.
No, appreciate you. Well, there you go, guys. Thank you for so much for tuning in. I want to thank all of you again. This would not be possible if you weren't tuning in week after week after week. And so many people share this. Please share this very episode with someone you know that's struggling, who needs just maybe a little push in the right direction. This will get them there. And please reach out to Mark. Again, he's an open book. He'll talk to anyone, anytime. And you can reach out to me. You guys know that. And again, watch for the Wasatch Way. We'll do an episode every month. And again, we're going to try to answer questions that you may have, and then any issues that may be going on in our world or anything about recovery. We're here to help, and it's going to be amazing. It's going to be a great partnership, and we're going to just keep growing this thing. And
I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm excited. I really am excited about this.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. So anyway, guys, thanks for believing in me. Again, thanks to the other sponsors, and again, grateful for the new sponsor, Wasatch Recovery. Love you guys, and until next time, take care.